The mathematics is not important in this, especially. It's the principle behind it. But I took a starting pitch of, let's say, 100 cycles per second because it's a nice sound. And that's probably a G on a bass guitar or on a stand-up bass. So it's getting down there pretty low. And so that first subdivision of the string is 200 cycles, 300, 400, 500, 600. Just keeps going like that. Each division of that vibration gets quieter. It has less power in it than the original vibration that was the generating one for all the overtones. On page 5, what I did here, and some people asked me about this, I took some of the higher partials. If you divide them in half, any partial, any vibration that's twice as fast or half as fast, we hear as the same note, only moving slower or faster. Okay, so look, if I vibrate at 100 cycles per second, my first partial or the overtone that I hear is twice as fast. The string dividing in half is 200. The space between that first vibration and the next one after that is called an octave. And so you can also, as you hit a string like this, you also generate, it's not as audible, but there's also a sub vibration that's generated in the air. So there's also, like, you don't hear it as well, it has less power, but that note down below is an octave lower. I got everybody following me here? This is the hardest part to teach. That's probably why people avoid teaching this. But I just, from this point on, things will move better, and we'll have a whole system of music and know how to name things, and why guitars look the way they do, and why pianos look the way they do, and hopefully by the 4th class you'll have some mastery. You won't be so afraid to pick up a guitar, or ukulele. I'm a big ukulele guy. So what I did, I took those higher vibrations as they go up. If you just cut the higher vibration in half, you drop down.
I'm lost when you say higher vibration. Like
Yeah.
where,
Pitch. More rapid. Higher pitch.
I know, but how do you pick that? How do you?
Every vibration that you have,
Yeah.
anyone, whatever, how
Yeah.
fast they go,
I
how
know
slow they go, generate these overtones. It's the natural world. It's exactly how things go. Okay, does that make sense? So I took some of so let's say we started out with our fundamental pitch, or basic pitch, was 100 cycles per second. Our first overtone that we generate is twice as fast. It's 200 cycles per second. We call that an octave. Okay? It's so closely related. It's like mother and daughter. I mean, they're just it's one unit. It's complete. There's no sound that doesn't have that. It's the next strongest note within the basic pitch. There isn't one note. Hitting one note generates a gazillion notes. We may not be. They get up so high in frequency, they leave our range of hearing. And then, as I said, each overtone has less and less power to it, so you can't maybe hear it. It won't be loud enough for you to hear. But there is no such thing as one note. One note is like a whole symphony. So, okay, does that make sense?
I've heard that, like, the Earth has its own vibration. It's just sub frequency.
Yeah, there is something one to like the square root of something or other. I mean, there is a note that's like, one cycle per every year or something or other. It's like, but that's a note. It's vibrating. Whatever. I don't know. There is an actual number. Somebody heard it and calculated it out. So a woman astronomer.
So you can speculate the universe lasts for one vibration, and then Shiva goes back to sleep again.
Yeah, and what the vibration is? It's Om, and the Sufi. That's the Hindu. Om is the sound of the universe, and in the Sufism, we use I use the divine pronoun O thou, or who is what the Sufis vibrate on. So looking at page 3. Okay. Page 3? Page 3. So let's take a look. See that 12th partial over there? So I could just cut that in half that would be 650. I cut that. I just keep cutting them in half so I can bring that vibration down, 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 down. Because these are the half vibrations are so closely related. I bring them in between the original fundamental of 100 and the overtone of 200 until, like on page 5, and you can take this home and read this. I try to be really clear in here, and if not, I have my telephone number and email address on here, and I am very available because I really want to encourage people to take up music as a spiritual practice. But basically, for example, we took this eighth partial, okay? The eighth partial vibrating at 900 cycles per second. And I divided that 8 times, okay? Four times multiples of 2, okay? Or halved it 4 times. I ended up at a vibration of 112.5. The numbers aren't that important, but I just put it down here in a row, okay? Then I took another vibration, and let's say like the 6th partial, 700 cycles per second. I kept having it and having it and having it until I ended up with 175, so it fit in here, until I had a row of 8 notes. That's the most basic building block inside of every vibration that you can find. We call that the major scale. It's so natural that is what we live in. We live in the major scale. Everything we do, I mean, our language, our communication skills, is related to the major scale, or some game that we play with it. Okay, it's that fundamental. So what we do then is we just number those 8 between this note and its doubling. Okay, whatever this vibration was, and this is twice as fast, or the first partial of the overtone. We found 8 notes that work together really well, and they form what's called a major scale. That little zikr that we sang in the beginning of this gathering was a major scale. That's the sound of those 8 notes. Yeah.
So is that a major scale that Shadra is teaching us about?
No, he's teaching something different. I'll show you that. So he's teaching us something called Bhairav, which is it's a mode.
Okay, I'll just put that somewhere else.
No, I will get to it. I actually touched on it last night. So
Okay.
actually, what it is, musicians play. I'll just tell you in advance, and we'll get to it later. But okay. So now once we end up with this major scale, musicians play little games. They're sneaky, They'll keep the same notes, but they'll make this 1. Okay. And so it has a different mathematical relationship to each other. And I probably within half an hour I'll be able to explain that to you. Okay. We keep going further and further and further up the overtone series, doing the same little game, having it, until we come up with some number that fits in between this number and the doubling, and we end up what's known as this is called a major scale. Okay. This is called a chromatic. Chromatic scale in Western music is a 12-note scale. So we just keep bringing those overtones down, 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 until we find some number that fits in between the fundamental and its octave. I keep repeating myself, hoping this sinks in.
Thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
absolutely
repetition sometimes is good, sometimes it's bad. You can throw tomatoes at me if I'm over the top on this stuff. So now we go from an 8-note scale, which is the primary sound of every vibration, called the major scale. We go down to what's called a chromatic scale. Now we have a 12-note scale. But instead of giving it more numbers, for people to think about, we originally start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now we're just going to name the other notes that come in, the other overtones that are being brought down into that original octave that we had, and just giving them a different name. So 1, flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 6, 6, flat 7, 7, and 8. These notes are sometimes named. Flat means you're going, down.